All the objects in this museum come to life at night, and the task of this guard is to maintain order and prevent them from going outside. Now, something important to mention is that the life of this guard is chaotic. It could be that the disorder of the museum and the work he has to do are a reflection of his inner world and the stability he needs to achieve. When Larry gets to his car in Brooklyn, he finds a ticket and a wheel clamp. Then he goes to pick up his son Nick from school, but a teacher tells him that Nick's already left. Because classes ended early, Larry goes to his ex-wife Erica's house to talk to Nick and asks why he didn't tell him. Erica says Nick insisted he would, but probably forgot. Larry greets Dawn, Erica's fiancée, and privately tells her that he might be evicted and have to move to Queens. Worried, Erica suggests that Larry shouldn't spend time with Nick until he has more stability. Nick appears, and Larry takes him to a hockey game. During a break, Larry goes into the rink to give him some advice, but ends up getting hit by a puck. After the match, Nick confesses that he no longer wants to play hockey and wants to become a stockbroker, inspired by Dawn. Larry says he thought he loved hockey, but Nick replies that he likes it, though being a broker is his backup. Larry asks where he got that idea, and Nick says he heard it from his mother and Dawn when they were talking about Larry. Larry says he feels his moment coming. Nick asks what will happen if it doesn't, and Larry just ends up being an ordinary man looking for a job, which deeply moves him. Later, Larry goes to an employment office where an interviewer reviews his resume. She says she's never seen anything like it, but not as a compliment. Larry explains that he invented the snapper, a device that turns lights on and off with a snap. Though she can't help him, a woman, feeling sorry for him, gives him the address of the Museum of Natural History. At the museum, the receptionist, Rebecca, takes him to Cecil's office, the security guard. Cecil explains that the museum is losing money and will lay off 3 current night guards, himself, Gus, and Reginald, to hire a new one. Larry hesitates, but agrees after Gus insists. As he leaves, Reginald asks if they think Larry is the one, and Cecil replies that he is. Cecil guides Larry through the museum and shows him the diorama hall featuring models of Mayan, Roman, and Old West cultures. He also introduces him to Attila the Hun, the Easter Island head, and the African Mammals Hall, where a monkey named Dexter stands out. Finally, they arrive at the chamber of the pharaoh Akhmun-Ra, where Cecil shows him the tomb and a golden tablet, avoiding any detailed explanation about the pharaoh. On his first night, the 3 former guards hand Larry the keys, a flashlight, and a manual. Before leaving, Cecil emphasizes that he must not let anything in or out. Now alone, Larry decides to explore the museum and notices that the T-Rex is not in its place. He hears a sound and sees it drinking from the water fountain. Suddenly, the dinosaur chases him, and Larry hides behind the counter, which the T-Rex throws across the room. Larry calls Cecil, who tells him to read the manual. There, he discovers that he needs to throw a bone at the dinosaur. He finds a giant rib, throws it, and realizes the T-Rex just wants to play. As he throws the bone again, Larry notices that the entire museum has come to life. Animals, cavemen making fire, and the Easter Island head calling him Dum Dum and asking for Gum Gum. Attila and the Huns chase Larry into the elevator. On the first floor, Larry sees Sacagawea behind a glass display. He tries to speak to her, but she can't hear him. Suddenly, a Civil War soldier fires at others, forcing Larry to run. He reads another instruction: lock up the lions or they'll eat you. In the African Mammals Hall, he finds the lions. He shuts the gate and runs towards some trees while they chase him, managing to escape by closing another gate. The next instruction warns him about a monkey that might have stolen the keys. Larry discovers that Dexter has them. He tries to recover them politely, but Dexter bites him, takes the manual, and tears it up. Larry runs into the diorama hall. There, tiny Mayan soldiers shoot arrows at his hand. Fleeing, he reaches the Old West exhibit, where some miniature cowboys knock him down and tie him up. Jed, their leader, says they're tired of being locked up and ties him to the train tracks. They ignore Larry's pleas, and the train speeds towards him, only hitting his head before derailing. Larry breaks free. As he gets up, he sees a Roman army led by Octavius, who orders an attack with flaming arrows. Suddenly, President Teddy Roosevelt on horseback rescues him. Teddy explains that the pharaoh's tablet brings the exhibits to life each night, and Larry's job is to keep anything from escaping the museum, because at dawn, they would disintegrate. Teddy agrees to help him, just for that night. As they round everyone up, Teddy watches Sacagawea through binoculars, but doesn't explain why. Larry confesses to Teddy that he doesn't plan to come back the next night. Teddy asks what he did before, and Larry says that he invented the snapper. Teddy asks if he gave up on that too, and Larry explains that he only found obstacles. Teddy tells him that some men are born great, while others have greatness thrust upon them, and that this is his moment. At sunrise, Teddy returns to his place in the museum, and everything goes back to normal. In the morning, the former gods arrive looking for Larry, who angrily tells them off for not warning him that everything comes to life. Larry decides to quit, but as he leaves, runs into his son Nick, who's visiting with Dawn before school. Nick, excited about his dad's job, makes Larry promise to give him a tour someday. Inspired, Larry returns to the museum to get his job back. The director, Dr. McPhee, scolds him after finding a Roman figure in the Old West, thinking it was Larry's doing. Larry then asks for a new manual, but Cecil suggests he should learn some history instead. Larry sees Rebecca leading a group of children and listens as she explains that the museum was dedicated to Roosevelt, who believed that understanding the past helps prepare for the future. Larry joins the group and, upon hearing about Sacagawea, interrupts to ask if she was deaf, since she didn't hear him the night before. I can't help but relate elements of the film to my own field of interest. A natural history museum, like the one we see in the film, is very much like the human mind. Just as a museum preserves fossils and artifacts to reconstruct the history of life and the planet, the mind stores memories and expectations that shape who we are and how we behave. Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, used to describe himself as an archaeologist of the mind. He established an interesting analogy between the work of an archaeologist and that of a psychoanalyst. Just as an archaeologist digs to uncover ancient civilizations and goes beyond what is visible to understand how those societies lived and thought, the psychoanalyst digs into the human mind, bringing to light repressed memories, desires, and emotions that remain buried and may explain a person's behavior and inner conflicts. Both share the goal of reconstructing hidden stories to better understand the past and how it continues to influence the present and may influence the future. Another interesting connection between the film's elements and psychoanalysis is the idea that, in the story, the museum's objects come to life at night. This can be interpreted as a representation of what occurs in dreams, from a psychoanalytic perspective. Freud said that dreams are like a window into the unconscious, a space where the objects of our mental past, desires, fears, and conflicts, come to life because the censorship of the conscious mind is relaxed. From this perspective, we can interpret the museum in the film as a reflection of Larry's inner world, and his job as a kind of therapeutic process. Just like the museum he tries to take care of, Larry's life is steeped in chaos. He feels lost, insecure, and struggles to find stability while trying to be a good role model for his son. His job is to maintain order in the museum, preventing the unruly objects from causing problems inside or outside that space. To do this, he must learn about each object and understand its history. Similarly, to maintain our own psychological balance and prevent internal conflicts from affecting our external life, it is essential to explore our inner collection of memories, emotions, and desires. By understanding the origin and meaning of these fragments, we can find stability, integrate them into our personal narrative, and develop more effective tools to cope with suffering and life's challenges. So, Larry's challenge of organizing and confronting the chaos in the museum can be seen as his need to deal with his own inner disorder. Only by doing so can he achieve stability in his personal life. Just a quick pause to say that if you're enjoying this video and haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. It would mean a lot and really helps me keep making more videos and content like this. Alright, let's get back to the story. Annoyed, Rebecca asks why he's following her. Larry says he just wants to learn and suggests they talk over coffee later. She agrees. As they walk, Rebecca tells him she's been working on her thesis about Sacagawea for 4 years and admires her for guiding explorers while carrying her baby. Larry, surprised, comments that he couldn't dedicate so much time to something. Motivated, Larry begins researching and studying history books. He learns that Attila the Hun was feared by the Romans, fascinated by magic, and known for his brutality. He also searches online for information about other exhibits. While studying, he sees a photo of himself and his son on the table. At the museum, Larry gets ready for his shift. Cecil and the other guards say goodbye as they're moving to Florida. Cecil asks to step out while Reginald stays behind to make a mold of Larry's key. Larry begins his shift using a remote-control car with a T-Rex bone to keep it busy. Then he throws a lighter to the caveman so they can make fire, gives gum to the Easter Island head, and dodges arrows from the Mayans before shutting their diorama. After that, Larry visits the Roman diorama, where he hears Octavius giving orders to expand his army. He then heads to the Old West and sees Jed trying to blow up a mountain while explaining that they are working on Manifest Destiny. Tired, Larry grabs them both and promises they can have freedom in the museum if they behave. Otherwise, he'll lock them up just like the Mayans. Both agree and Larry walks away. In the Mammals Hall, Larry instructs Dexter to go into the room, The monkey obeys, but when he tries to show off that he stole the keys, he discovers they are toys. Larry, satisfied, shuts the door, convinced he has finally outsmarted him. He then notices Teddy Roosevelt watching Sacagawea and suggests he go talk to her. Though Teddy seems encouraged, he stops, too shy to follow through. Meanwhile, a man enters Larry's office and plants museum artifacts on his desk before leaving. Later, in the Roosevelt exhibit, Larry encounters Attila the Hun. Attila prepares to attack, but Larry distracts him with magic tricks. However, when one of them fails, Attila orders his men to seize him. Just as they grab him, an elephant charges in and stops them. Larry realizes the animals have escaped from the restricted area and that Dexter has the keys. He chases the monkey into the diorama hall, where he sees Romans and cowboys fighting. As Dexter opens a window, Larry tries to stop him, but first comes across a caveman who is on fire. He uses a fire extinguisher on him and continues the chase. One of the cavemen notices a campfire outside, and upon seeing the window open, jumps out. Larry finally catches up with Dexter in another exhibit, but the monkey slaps him, and the two get into a scuffle until Teddy intervenes. With kindness, Teddy retrieves the keys. Larry decides he will not return to the museum. Teddy tries to encourage him not to give up, but Larry insists that not everyone is meant for greatness, and he's just an ordinary person. He picks up his suitcase and heads for the exit, but the statue of Columbus gestures towards an open window. From there, Larry sees the caveman outside at sunrise. He runs to the main entrance, but it's too late. The sun rises, and the caveman disintegrates. Through his actions and comments at various moments, we can see that Larry is someone who seeks quick results and tends to give up easily when things get difficult. For example, when Teddy asked about his previous work, Larry said he ran into obstacles and gave up. Later, upon hearing that Rebecca had been working on her thesis for 4 years, he commented that he couldn't dedicate so much time to something. And when faced with problems at the museum on his first day, his immediate reaction was to quit. This seems very relevant to me because it reflects something many of us struggle with today. We live in an era where instant gratification is just a click away. With television, cell phones, and social media, we receive quick rewards with almost no effort. These conditions are used poorly, making us less tolerant of difficulties and more likely to give up at the first sign of struggle. The paradox is that this constant habit of seeking the easy way out leaves us worse off. We end up feeling empty, without purpose, and with nothing that truly fulfills us. What truly matters in life doesn't come instantly or without effort. The worthwhile things require time, dedication, and perseverance. In fact, it's the obstacles that give purpose its meaning. Greatness cannot exist without challenges. It's in facing them that we discover what we're made of. The next morning, Nick and his friends go to the museum, hoping to learn something new from Larry. But they see him being fired by Dr. McPhee because of foam in the caveman exhibit. Larry doesn't notice Nick's presence, and the kids walk away. Later, Larry convinces Dr. McPhee to give him one last chance. At home, Nick tells Larry he saw him get fired. Larry explains that it was all a misunderstanding and invites him to the museum that night. Nick agrees. At the museum, Larry sees Rebecca and they talk. She mentions she's thinking about quitting her thesis because she feels she'll never truly understand Sacagawea. Larry urges her not to give up and shares the museum's secret. Everything comes to life at night. Rebecca doesn't believe him and, thinking he's mocking her, walks away. That night, Larry places Nick at the reception desk and warns him that the dinosaur will come to life in a few seconds, but nothing happens. Disappointed, Nick thinks his father is lying to him. They soon discover that the tablet has been stolen. As they investigate, they find a cart with the tablet, but then Cecil, Gus, and Reginald appear and demand they hand it over. Larry tells Nick to rotate the centerpiece of the tablet to activate its magic. Though hesitant, Nick trusts his father and does it. Then, Larry tells Nick to run with the tablet. Gus punches Larry, and Cecil knocks him down, explaining that they enjoyed working there. The tablet gave them vitality and energy, and when they learned they were being dismissed, they planned to steal it and frame Larry. Gus hits Larry again, and the guards go after Nick. Dexter opens the museum's main entrance, letting everyone out. Cecil finds Nick and takes the tablet from him. Larry tries to defend his son, but Cecil knocks him down, steals his keys, and locks both of them inside the Pharaoh's chamber. Larry calls out to Teddy, who arrives but refuses to help, saying this is Larry's moment. Teddy walks away as the Anubis statues prepare to attack. Larry manages to get past the statue's defenses and opens the Pharaoh's tomb. Pharaoh Akhmun-Ra introduces himself, orders the statues to stand down, and thanks Larry and Nick for freeing him. The statues let them out, allowing them to continue the search. Meanwhile, in Teddy Roosevelt's hall, the museum is engulfed in battle. Attila the Hun sees Larry and charges. Larry decides to confront him, and with the Pharaoh's translations, manages to appeal to Attila's sensitive side, earning his trust by speaking about his past pain. Trying to calm the chaos, Larry attempts to get everyone's attention, without success, until the Easter Island head shouts to silence the crowd. Larry explains the power of the tablet, how it was stolen by the guards, and assigns everyone a task to recover it. He gives instructions to the Civil War soldiers, Columbus, and the cavemen, and convinces Jed and Octavius to work together, pointing out that they're not so different. They're great leaders who want the best for their people. One of the key ideas in the film is that understanding the past prepares us for the future. Listening to Octavius and Jed, I find it interesting to compare the Roman Empire with the United States, and how its history might foreshadow challenges for Americans. When Larry first met Octavius and Jed, they were arguing about the expansion of their territories. Jed even mentioned the concept of manifest destiny. As Larry said, the two are quite similar. The Roman Empire and the United States have been two of the most influential political systems in history, both grounded in similar narratives used to justify their power and expansion. Rome promoted the belief that its rule was a divine right and duty, known as Imperium Sine Fine, an empire without end, popularized by Virgil in the Aeneid, an epic poem commissioned by Emperor Octavian to legitimize his regime and give Rome some kind of heroic past and a divine mission. In the Aeneid, the hero Aeneas, guided by divine will, flees Troy to found Rome, a civilization destined to bring order and stability to the world. According to this vision, Rome's conquests weren't acts of aggression, but a civilizing mission in barbarian lands. Similarly, American settlers embraced manifest destiny, the belief that they were meant to expand from coast to coast. This idea, also rooted in a sense of divine mission, justified westward expansion, the dispossession of native lands, and war with Mexico. Over time, it evolved into the doctrine of American exceptionalism, which presents the country as unique, universally admirable, and with the duty to lead and redeem the world, a notion that has long served as justification for many of its international interventions. In both Rome and the United States, we find narratives that intertwine religion, politics, and a sense of mission, supposedly for the good of humanity. But as the film suggests, learning from the past also means recognizing the risks of these beliefs. The Roman Empire expanded so much that managing and defending its territories became unsustainable. Although territorial expansion is no longer the issue, the United States has taken on a global role as a military and economic leader. Its numerous military bases, frequent interventions, and the high cost of maintaining global influence are creating pressure that is already beginning to show. The US continues to cling to narratives from its past, without questioning their current impact. The future is not guaranteed by the greatness of the past, but by the ability to learn from mistakes and adapt to new realities. To face the future, it may be time to reconsider the idea of a divine mission and lead through cooperation and cultural respect. As some intellectuals point out, American exceptionalism does not reflect reality and resembles more of a myth. Stephen Walt explains it this way: blind faith in exceptionalism makes it hard for Americans to understand why other countries don't share their enthusiasm for global dominance and become irritated when they perceive hypocrisy, as in the case of nuclear weapons, or when condemning the conduct of others while ignoring their own. Ironically, US foreign policy would be more effective if it abandoned this belief and adopted a more realistic view. Believing one has a divine mandate is very dangerous because it creates the risk of thinking oneself infallible and choosing ineffective rulers. What do you think? Does the American political experiment need changes to remain relevant, or not? Jed and Octavius lead an attempt to deflate the tires of the van, but the air pressure blasts everyone away except them. Meanwhile, the Civil War troops capture Gus, and Columbus, along with the cavemen, apprehend Reginald. However, Cecil escapes with the tablet in his vehicle. Larry frees Sacagawea, who helps him locate Cecil. They discover that Cecil has crashed his car and returned to the museum. He appears riding a horse-drawn carriage, and just as he's about to run over Sacagawea, Teddy saves her, although he ends up split in two. While she assists Teddy, Jed and Octavius arrive in the remote-controlled vehicle. Larry asks them to chase after Cecil to lure the T-Rex toward him, while Larry follows on Teddy's horse. Jerry maneuvers the vehicle so that the T-Rex collides with Cecil, but the car goes out of control, flips over behind a hill, and explodes. Larry catches up to Cecil and demands he stop the horses. Cecil explains that they are coin-operated and will only stop with a specific code word. Larry says Dakota, the horses halt, and Cecil goes flying. Larry recovers the tablet and hands Cecil over to Attila the Hun's tribunal. Larry and Achman Ra use the tablet to return everyone to the museum. Teddy comes back repaired. Larry calls Rebecca, and when she arrives, she begins to believe him upon seeing everything come to life. She sees Sacagawea and walks off with her to talk. Larry and Achman Ra check that everyone is present, but Jed and Octavius are missing. But the two appear climbing the stairs, surprising everyone. Teddy hopes to see Larry again the following night, although Larry is unsure whether to continue working due to the chaos in the lobby. Teddy tells Nick that his father is a great man, and Nick replies that he knows. Larry goes to Dr. McPhee's office, where they watch news reports from the previous night, such as dinosaur footprints and cave drawings in the subway. McPhee fires Larry and asks for his keys and flashlight. But upon stepping outside and seeing the museum full of visitors, he changes his mind and gives Larry the job back. At school, Nick proudly tells everyone that his father is the night guard at the Museum of Natural History. That night, the exhibits throw a party, everyone gets along, and Nick rides the T-Rex while Jed and Octavius guide it in their toy car. Larry spins his torch, clips it to his belt, and snaps his fingers to turn off the lights. Ultimately, the film invites us to connect more deeply with our past, not only to understand it, but also to learn from it. Those who ignore or choose to forget their history, whether as individuals or as a society, are doomed to repeat the same mistakes. This is especially relevant today, where we see the resurgence of ideas and narratives that were once responsible for sowing chaos, division, tragedy, and even the loss of countless lives. In our personal lives, something similar happens. We often find ourselves trapped in recurring patterns, recreating painful situations or falling into mistakes that keep us in endless cycles. At times, we're not even aware of how the past continues to influence our decisions, which prevents us from moving forward. Following the film's premise and the analysis I've explored, it's essential to look into the past, both collectively and personally, and reflect on it with care. Only by doing so can we better understand our current situation and prepare for the future. Just as Larry was able to establish order and prevent chaos by learning the history of the museum's exhibits and understanding their meaning, we too can take time to explore our own internal museum and reflect on our past and personal history. In doing so, we may find clarity and give new meaning to what we've lived. Both as individuals and as a society, we have the opportunity to learn from our experiences, to build a more meaningful future with less suffering, and above all, with more hope. Thanks for staying until the end of the video. Don't forget to subscribe and share it with a friend who you think might enjoy it. And you and I'll see you in the next one.